Hey guys, it's Shiv Haria here from Lifestyle Property People, and today we're going to answer a very simple question. Is property still a good investment in 2022? I've got 5 reasons why, and stay tuned to find out what they are. The first reason is inflation. Now, a lot of you will have heard about inflation, but you won't really know what it is. Inflation is the general increase in the price of goods and services. And one of those things that is included in that basket is property. So inflation means that everything is going up in value over time. And ultimately, if you have £100,000 in the bank today, that in a year from now is going to be worth probably something in the region of £90,000, because currently inflation in the UK and across most of the developed countries is running at about 10% or perhaps even a little bit more than that. So your money is actually reducing every single day that you don't invest it and that you don't do something with it. So we know we need to invest it. What's the second reason? The second reason is the alternatives. We know we need to invest it, but what are the alternatives? Where are we going to invest this money? Ultimately, there's only a couple of real options for most investors out there, and we don't really want to be investing in things that we don't know about. So things like, wine or books or stocks or watches, sorry, not stocks, wine, books, art or watches. If we don't know so much about that, then we probably don't want to be getting involved with that market. The mainstream things that people tend to invest in at the moment at least are gold, bonds, stocks and shares, property, and then we've also got obviously the crypto market. That is a new thing that's come about very recently. So I've ordered them there in an order of risk. And how you invest should be obviously according to your risk appetite. We've got the low risk stuff like cash, bonds, and even some property over in that side of things. And then we've got the high risk stuff on this side, which is the cryptocurrency or leveraged trading, as you may have heard of it. In the middle, we've got the kind of stocks and other kind of property bits as well. So really, what we're looking for is what is the attitude to risk that we're looking for. Now, what you already know is that the market has been tumbling in stocks and shares in the crypto market for quite some time, for the last couple of weeks, for the last couple of months. And unfortunately, that means that there's not very many enticing places to put your money if you do have money sat in the bank and you don't want it to go down with inflation. So really, what are the alternatives? Well, one of the main alternatives right now is property, and that's why people are turning to property. The third reason is diversification. Of course, I've just laid out for you here that there are a number of different areas that you could invest in, different asset classes that you can invest in. But of course, what we should all be doing is investing across these asset classes. We can't have all of our wealth in one asset class. We can't have everything that we own in the crypto market, for example, because if it goes down, we'll lose everything. We can't have it in Tesla shares, because again, if Tesla shares goes down, we'll lose everything. What we want is a little bit in crypto and a little bit in stocks and shares market, a little bit in the property market, and a little bit in the gold market, or whichever options on asset classes that you like. But ultimately, what I'm trying to suggest is that property plays an important part in the diversification of your portfolio. And the reason I bring this up is because many of our clients will be professionals that tend to work in London or certainly bigger cities, and so they understand, they've heard of from friends, from families, from other people, the need to invest in the stock market, whether it's through the ISA or even through the pension. So a lot of people have stock market investments already, whether they're in stocks or whether they're in funds. However, now it's about time to start considering the slightly perhaps more expensive investments. Property, as you know, can cost you a little bit of money, and you can't invest with just £10,000 or £3,000. You have to have a certain amount of money to be able to invest in property. So that's the third reason, which is diversification of your portfolio. The fourth reason is for the long term. Now, one of the greatest things about property is that it's less volatile than some of the other asset classes. And what that means is when everything else is going down, property doesn't tend to go down as quickly, and even it doesn't tend to go down as fast. So what that means is it might take a couple of weeks or a couple of months for the property market to react, because there are some costs associated with selling your property and buying new property. And also if it does indeed go down, it won't go down as quickly. So if you might have, let's say, a 50% drop in the crypto market, you might have a 30% drop in the stocks market, you might only have a 5% drop in the property market. So there is something to be said about the fact that we're trying to hold these for the long term, and ultimately if we buy them, let's say that we're buying them because right now the property prices are a little bit high, we're buying them at 135,000 instead of 130,000. Well, in 10 years time, 20 years time, when they're all worth double or triple or quadruple, so let's say these houses instead of being worth 130,000, we're now worth 250,000 or 300,000, we're not really going to care that much about whether we paid 3 grand more or 3 grand less for the property, because we're not trying to catch the bottom. What we're trying to do is say, let's regularly invest, and of course if we can afford to regularly invest in property, then that's what we should be doing, because if we can do that, then we'll average the price of the properties that we have in our portfolio over time. The fifth reason to invest is a crash. There you go, I've said it. Now, a number of people have been speculating that maybe there might be a crash coming soon, maybe the property prices are going to dip and we should wait for that to happen. Now, unfortunately, nobody knows whether there's going to be a crash. We're not Mystic Meg, and we can't read the future. We haven't come back from the future. So ultimately, because we don't know, and because we're investing for the long term, we need to be investing and we need to be putting our money in anyway. There's no point in waiting for a crash, because it may not actually ever come. And if you wait a year, it could be 10-15% increase in the property prices you want to buy. So you wanted to buy a £130,000 house this year, next year it's £150,000. So it's not a good strategy just to wait. As well as that, it's also useful to know that in the global financial crisis of 2008-2009, which was the largest financial crisis of our time, property prices reduced massively. They reduced by 16%. 16. And that's it. On average, property prices reduced by 16%. And if you think about the last year, for example, property prices have probably increased by about 16%. So actually, it's not that big a loss. We don't need to think about, oh my God, property prices are going to halve or they're going to go down to zero. Properties are made of bricks and mortar, and so they always have some intrinsic value. And ultimately what we're saying here is that property prices, we don't believe, are ever going to go down to zero, because they are a necessity. People need to live in the houses, and that's what ultimately what we're selling as landlords, is being able to sell houses for people to rent. But ultimately, that even in the worst case scenario, like the global financial crisis, property prices might decrease by, let's say, 16%, but we've already have that increase built into our property of 15%, 16% over the last year, perhaps even over the next year. So there you go. There's 5 reasons why why we believe at least that property is still a great investment in 2022, and I hope that that will help you in your property journey. Good luck and see you soon. Bye-bye.